Good evening, everybody. I am your host, Jack Remington of Jack Remington Political Analyst. Today's video is a tribute to the late, great Hank Aaron, the Atlanta Braves slugger. He was a great baseball hero, and I'm going to outline the reasons in three parts. Millions of people, including myself, were glued to the TV, and he was at the home opener of that season against the Los Angeles Dodgers. It's ironic that number 44, Al Downing, was pitching to number 44, Hank Aaron. Okay, why he was so great and why he was so revered and respected in this great sport, America's pastime, the pastoral entertainment for hundreds of thousands of boys since the 1860s, since the Civil War. So let's get to part one, the statistics on the field. Okay, I want to start off by saying that Hank Aaron made the All-Star game for 21 straight years, from 1955 to 1975. He did okay in some of the games, but you got to remember, a baseball player, he's great if he hits only three hits out of 10. That's great for a baseball player, and Hank Aaron did just that. It's hard to believe that a slugger finished with a lifetime batting average of 305. I mean, that's just incredible. So let's get to the other stats. Hank Aaron, all-time ranking, number one in runs batted in with 2,297. Number one in 1,477 extra base hits. Number one in 6,856 total bases. Number one, he's the first place 25-time All-Star. We just talked about that. Second in 755 home runs, beat by Barry Bonds. Third in hits, 3,771 hits. Third in hits, all-time hits, okay? If you take his 755 home runs, he still has over 3,000 hits just without the home runs. That in itself is quite a feat. And he was tied for fourth in runs. He scored 2,174 runs. Okay, the man was just incredible. We'll just take a look.
Once again, a standing ovation for Henry Aaron. So the confrontation for the second time. Aaron walked in the second inning. He means the tying run at the plate now. So we'll see what Downing does. Al at the belt delivers, and he's low. Ball one. And that just adds to the pressure. The crowd booing. Downing has to ignore the sound effects and stay a professional and pitch his game. 1 ball and no strikes. Aaron waiting. The outfield deep and straight away. Fastball is a high drive into deep left center field. Buckner goes back to the fence. It is gone. For baseball, what a marvelous moment for Atlanta and the state of Georgia. What a marvelous moment for the country and the world. A black man is getting a standing ovation in the Deep South for breaking a record of an all-time baseball idol. And it is a great moment for all of us, and particularly for Henry Aaron, who was met at home plate not only by every member of the Braves, but by his father and mother. He threw his arms around his father, and as he left the home plate area, his mother came running across the grass, threw her arms around his neck, kissed him for all she was worth. As Aaron circled the bases, the Dodgers on the infield shook his hand, and that was a memorable moment. Aaron is being mobbed by photographers. He is holding his right hand high in the air, and for the first time in a long time, that poker face of Aaron shows the tremendous strain and relief of what it must have been like to live with for the past several months. It is over. At 10 minutes after 9 in Atlanta, Georgia, Henry Aaron has eclipsed the mark set by Babe Ruth. You could not, I guess, get two more opposite men. The Babe, big and garrulous and oh so sociable, and oh so immense in all of his appetites. And then the quiet lad out of Mobile, Alabama, slender and stayed slender throughout his career. Ruth, as he put on the poundage and the paunch, the Yankees put their ball players in pinstripe uniforms because it made Ruth look slimmer. But they didn't need pinstripe uniforms for Henry Aaron in the twilight of his career. He looks almost the same as he did when he first came up 20 years ago. And so it was a memorable moment before the game, and now what a sweet moment it is here in the middle of the game. So Henry and the Babe, the two greatest home run hitters that have ever lived. And it's a marvelous, wonderful, enjoyable moment here in Atlanta. We're so happy, too, that it could be seen all over the United States, that it will be duly reported all around the world. And I'm sure films of it will be seen around the world, and you can hear Georgia around the world. Henry Aaron is now at the microphone. Henry summed it all up by saying, I thank God it's all over with. And I'm sure he has thanked God many times that he had to do it to get it all over with, as he becomes the greatest home run hitter in the history of baseball.
Part 3, Hank Aaron, the man. Why he was revered, why he's respected. He's respected enough from me where I can push back Joke and Jill and the greatest heist in American history. I can put that off for a few days because I need to make this video. This video's got to come out now, and I'll worry about Joke and Jill tomorrow. Start with some tweets, and the very first tweet I'm picking is from Barry L. Bonds, a true baseball legend. This is Justin Turner, Gibson, Ford, Brock, Seaver, Kaline, Morgan, Necro, Lasorda, Sutton, and now Hammer and Hank. We've lost some of the greatest to ever do it this year. And Tommy Lasorda is going to have a hell of a roster to manage up there. Hashtag rest in peace legends. Vin Scully tweets, saddened to hear about Hank Aaron. He meant so much more to baseball and the country than just being one of the game's top home run hitters. He truly was a very special man. Vin Scully also tweets, it was a privilege to witness Hank Aaron's historic moment. Here's Chipper Jones, a former Atlanta Brave himself, also an Atlanta Braves legend. Chipper Jones tweets, I can't imagine what Hank Aaron went through in his lifetime. He had every right to be angry or militant, but he never was. He spread his grace on everything and everyone he came in contact with. Epitome of class and integrity. Rest in peace, Henry Aaron. Hashtag Hammer and Hank. David Ortiz, Big Papa, quote, a legend on and off the field, the best to ever do it. Rest in peace, Mr. Hank Aaron. Hashtag number 44. Johnny Bench, the great Cincinnati Reds catcher, circa 1970. I remember him in the World Series when the Baltimore Orioles beat the Cincinnati Reds. I know the Orioles won 4-1. That was the closest series. The ball was hitting off that bat. There were sizzling hitters. Johnny Bench tweets, the hits just keep coming. They are body blows. At Braves, at baseball. My friend hashtag Hank Aaron, I miss everything about him. So kind to me. The Bill Russell, the great basketball player, Boston Celtic. Heartbroken to see another true friend and a pioneer has passed away. At Henry Louis Aaron was so much better than his reputation. His contributions were much more than just baseball. Janine and I send our prayers and deepest condolences to his wife and kids. Hashtag rest in peace Hammer and Hank. Rest in peace in Major League Baseball at Braves. Another one I want to read, Irvin Magic Johnson. You know who Magic Johnson is, right? He was the famous Los Angeles Laker basketball player. Now he's the owner of the baseball team of the Dodgers. Rest in peace to American hero, icon, and Hall of Famer Hank Aaron. I still remember where I was back in the day when he set the record at the time to become the home run all-time leader. While a legendary athlete, Hank Aaron was also an extraordinary businessman. And that's something that Magic Johnson has very good chops and qualifications to talk about. Thank you for that, Magic Johnson. Lenny Kravitz tweets, Hank Aaron, my childhood baseball hero, has gone home. Watching him break Babe Ruth's record for the most home runs on television was a monumental moment. As a young black child, he inspired me to push for excellence. Rest easy, sir. I'm going to read a couple quotes from the great article, Besting Ruth, Beating Hate, How Hank Aaron Made History. So I'm going to read parts of it. I'll put the link up here. You can read it for yourselves. Hank Aaron made sports history on April 8th, 1974. On that day, he broke Babe Ruth's total home run record, something few thought could ever be done. But swinging that bat came with a great personal risk. So this article takes a look behind the scenes how the sports legend was made. The article writer was Jen Christensen, then of CNN. It broke Babe Ruth's all-time home run record. It was an incredible athletic accomplishment, made even more incredible because it happened in the shadow of hate and death threats. Those threats came from people who did not want an African American to claim such an important record. So here's a couple pictures of the individual player reporters, scouting reports. They couldn't even get his height right. One card says he's 5'11", one almost says he's 5'9". I think in reality, I think he was 6 foot in reality. When Major League Baseball scouts first took a look at the teenage sensation in 1952, they saw potential but could not know the legend he'd become. These scouting reports show a player with natural talent but also little coaching or experience. He grew up in the 1930s and 40s, deep in the heart of the segregated South, an African-American man without access to organized baseball teams, field, or equipment. The nearly million letters sent to Aaron as he chased a home run record also show an ugly side of American culture in the early 1970s. The letters drip with hate and threatened his life just for playing baseball. After much discussion, we decided we're not going to put the letters on the YouTube here. Of course, they're offensive, but it's more they're extremely disrespectful. They're so out of line. I cannot put this on my channel. If you read the article that I'm put up here and you type it in DuckDuckGo, you type that article in for read this for yourself. I must give you a warning. You will be offended. You will be shocked. You're going to think, is this the America that my parents or someone like me grew up in? By all reports, Aaron's baseball was marked by his obsession with baseball. He even got kicked out of high school when he cut too many classes to listen to Dodger games on the pool hall radio. When Hank Aaron's hero, Jackie Robinson, the first African-American to integrate Major League Baseball, came to Mobile in 1948, Aaron cut class to hear the Dodger speak at a drugstore. Later that day, he told his father that that's what he wanted to do with his life. Jackie Robinson gave us our dreams, Aaron wrote in his autobiography. There was no high school team, so he had to play fast-pitch softball at school and pick up baseball games with neighborhood kids. They carved out a makeshift diamond in an abandoned lot, their baseball made from rags. Hank Aaron remembers, though, even though back then he had to separate his playing from the racial hate that swirled around him. Quote, when I was growing up in Mobile, Alabama, on a little dirt street, I remember my mother about 5 or 7 o'clock in the afternoon. You could hardly see, and I'd be trying to throw a baseball, and she'd say, come here, and I'd say, for what? She said, get under the bed. Aaron said in a rare interview with CNN that month. The family would hide under the bed for several minutes, and then the KKK would march by, burn a cross, and go on about their business, and my mother, would say, you can come out now. Can you imagine what this would do to the average person? Here I am, a little boy, not doing anything, just catching a baseball with a friend of mine, and my mother telling me, go under the bed. There are a couple letters from the scouting reports and letters about their players, and this one team is called the Indiana Clowns. I mean, what a hell of a name to name your baseball team, the Indianapolis Clowns. I mean, that's over the pale, too. So one of the letters says, in the space for a player's strength, the guy named Griggs, he writes, quote, I feel that he has the ability. And in the letter, Griggs wrote the letter to Braves front office. He closed his letter about the 18-year-old Hank Aaron with, this boy could be the answer, end of quote. When the Atlanta Braves bought Hank Aaron's contract from the Indianapolis Clowns in 1952, they promised him $350 a month and paid the Clowns $10,000. The Buffalo Criterion newspaper reported this was, quote, one of the highest pay prices for an American League star in many years, end quote. But Hank Aaron's signing bonus, what did he get? A cardboard suitcase. That's right. I'm reading right from the article. You read it yourself. His signing bonus was a cardboard suitcase. What did it cost in 1952? What, $13? His very first ever airplane flight, $41.70. Aaron's race became more of a challenge when the Braves promoted him to Class A ball the next season. He and Horace Garner and Felix Mantilla broke the color line in the Sally League, the Deep South League, with the Class A team based in Jacksonville, Florida. Hank Aaron writes the mayor warned him he'd hear racist shouts from the fans that he should, quote, suffer quietly, end quote. The fans threw rocks. They wore mops on their heads to mock the black players. They threw black cats onto the field. The FBI investigated death threats. The players knew to ignore the hate, but, quote, we couldn't help but feel the weight of what we were doing, Aaron wrote in his autobiography. The stadiums had segregated seating. Brown versus Board ended separate but equal on paper in 1954, the year Hank Aaron got promoted to the big leagues. But, like with other facilities, the whites-only signs didn't come down immediately. It wasn't until 1961 that the Braves took down the whites-only signs, according to Hank Aaron. The segregation also extended to the team. While the white Braves got to eat in restaurants in the South, the black players took their meals on the bus. They were also housed separately in towns that kept public accommodations segregated. Some Florida newspapers wouldn't even print the pictures of the black players. But by the end of his Sally League season, Aaron says in his autobiography, quote, little by little, one by one, the fans accepted us. Not all of them, but enough to make a difference. And we were part of the reason why, end of quote. He received so many letters that the United States Post Office gave him a plaque for receiving more mail than any other Americans, which does not include politicians. Babe Ruth was considered the guy who saved baseball. The Sultan of Swat's numerous home runs were such a marvel. In 1920, parentheses talks about, in 1920, his 54 home runs beat the home run total of all but one team that year, end parentheses. And Babe Ruth was such a colorful character that his fans flocked to the stadiums to see this power player's swing. Up until then, the fans had been staying away, disgusted by the Black Sox scandal when players for the Chicago White Sox conspired with gamblers to intentionally lose the 1919 World Series. Babe Ruth restored people's faith in the game. As Hank Aaron got within reach, a popular bumper sticker popped up around Atlanta that read, quote, Aaron is ruthless, end quote. Hate mail poured into the Braves office. Hank Aaron says he didn't read most of it, but he kept it as a reminder. It made him hit better. He wrote, damn it all, I had to break the record, he writes in his autobiography. I had to do it for Jackie Robinson and my people and myself, for everybody who ever called me that bad word. The FBI also investigated several death threats and kidnapping plots against his children. An armed guard started accompanying Hank Aaron. Somehow he was able to stay focused. Quote, I've always felt like once I put on a uniform and once I got on out to the playing field, I could separate the two from, say, an evil letter. I got the day before. I always felt like once I put on the uniform and once I got on the playing field, I could separate the two. Because of the threats, he says he missed his grandkids' graduations and they had to have public escorts at school. When the press wrote about his hate letters, positive letters started pouring in. Fans at away games started giving Aaron standing ovations. And finally, a couple home runs shy of the record, at his last home run game of 1973, Braves fans stood and cheered for 5 minutes. In reality, it was a 20-minute celebration. I watched it on television. I remember it to this day. How many times do you ever see a sporting event for a standing ovation for a player that lasted 20 minutes? I'll wait for the comments below. With his first swing in the 1974 season, Hank Aaron tied Babe Ruth's record at 714. Vice President Gerald Ford made a speech. He also made a phone call, or how many people get a call from both the Vice President and the President of the United States the same day for the same event. As far as, and I've done some research on this is the only time in history I can see where both the Vice President and the President both called, and it was for Hank Aaron. And I remember when he hit that home run, and we were happy for him. We didn't understand. We were young kids. We didn't understand about the Negro Leagues. We weren't taught that in school. We didn't know any of these things that we do now. But for Hank Aaron to overcome that, I never saw him with a picket protest sign in his hand. I never saw him on TV bad-mouthing people. And as far as I'm concerned, he never said a bad word about anybody. The man had so much class and grace, and he never complained. And I'm sure he was bitter. He has every right to be bitter, but he overcame that. And he probably didn't stay bitter long. He did what he set out to do, and it's over a baseball record. That's what this is all about. Still, after all these decades, after all this, I am still shocked that this had to happen. I mean, I don't want to believe it. I really don't want to believe that Americans can be that bad. I don't want to believe that Americans can behave in that manner. Let me word it like that, so I don't get kicked off of YouTube. And to show his class, when he started giving interviews, that the commissioner of baseball, Bowie Kuhn, he insisted on not playing Hank Aaron on the first 3 games of that season because they were on the road. They were playing, I believe, in Cincinnati. This Bowie Kuhn, the commissioner of baseball, forces the Atlanta Braves to don't let Hank Aaron break that home run record in Riverside Stadium in Cincinnati. Make him do it in Atlanta, and we'll all be there. We'll make a big gala about it and everything. And I'm sure he had his way of words where he They talked him into it. So that's what they did. They waited till the fourth or fifth game of the season, and when they were home, and they were playing the Dodgers. And then all of a sudden, Bowie Kuhn, he's not there that day. He breaks the home run. He was giving a speech to some kids in Cleveland, which is a good thing in itself, giving the speech to the kids in Cleveland. But he made a commitment. He made a commitment to Hank Aaron and the Atlanta Braves. He would be there for the record-breaking event, and he was not. And I remember that. I remember when it happened. I'd forgotten it over the years, and I looked it up again, and sure enough, I was correct. My memory was correct. Because of Hank Aaron breaking the home run record, he had to get the Secret Service protection. And they had granted it to him for the entire season, but after a few weeks, he said, after 22nd day, he said, you guys got to get out. He got rid of him. He said, just go. Just go. They hated him because he was doing his job. It's a record. I want to talk about Mark Gastineau and Michael Strahan. I know they're football players. You people probably know who they are. Well, you might know who Strahan is. He's still on television, that ABC show with that blonde lady, Kelly Ripa. But Mark Gastineau had the NFL sack record, and it stood for a few years. And here comes Michael Strahan with the New York Giants. I don't know, 2007, 2000. I think it was the year they beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. And he beat it by half a sack. And Mark Gastineau was there for the game, and he shook his hands, he hugged him, and it was good sportsmanship. You want to celebrate the breaking of your record with the person who breaks your record. It's sportsmanship, and that's something that we knew about as kids growing up playing baseball and football and basketball, soccer. Sports has been the great unity. Not this Joe Biden thing where he's talking unity and behind the paper he's here going to keep impeaching the president. No, unity comes from sports. Sports has been the great, great unifier of people, all walks of life. American Indians. I remember Sonny Six Killer when he played for Washington Redskins. So he wasn't the world's greatest, but at least he got a shot, and that was a good thing for an American Indian to get a chance to play in the NFL. Tom Flores, the Hispanic coach for the Oakland Raiders, one of the best coaches of all time. He gets ignored because he was so quiet. He was so businesslike. He just did his job. He made his Oakland Raider Renegades show up on time. He made him go to the weight room. He made him lose a little bit of weight. He got him in shape, and they won a Super Bowl. And they should have won another one. And in my opinion, that's why I'm making this video. Sports is the number one factor in trying to bring people together. And hey, when you're on that team and you want to win the game, you don't care what color skin the guy's got. You're in the locker room with you. You go on to dinner with them. And you tell the same jokes and you laugh about it. When I played sports, I wasn't very good, but I did make some teams in my time. I tried to high school. I was on the high school baseball team for a while. I didn't get to play, but I was on the team, and I did some football. I was never very good, but I got to travel with the team, and I was on the team. I was ordered equipment, and I went to inner city Baltimore City schools. It wasn't as bad as people make it out to be. The kids were better behaved in those days than they are today, if you can believe that. No, sports is the ultimate unifier. Sports has been great. And Hank Aaron was a great man. He showed the world this is how you act in the face of adversity. And he did it. He took all that garbage. I'm going to close the video with telling the audience what I saw with the interviews on Hank Aaron on different media outlets, different news shows, sports clips. And they asked him about Pete Rose. And he goes, well, Pete Rose was convicted of gambling, and he signed the agreement to never try to get into the Hall of Fame. So if you're asking me about whether he should be in the Hall of Fame, is that Pete Rose, he already answered that question for you. I thought that was a very clever way to answer that question, because that way these other people can say, oh, he doesn't want Pete Rose to get in the Hall of Fame because he's white. It has nothing to do with it. He put Pete Rose's own actions to why he should never be in the Hall of Fame. I thought it was the perfect answer. My friends didn't understand that answer. I understood it. I was in the casino business for 38 years, and I'm a retired NFL handicapper. Of course I understand that. He was asked about Sammy Sosa, about his nickname was Corky. He had the cork bat, he was chasing Mark McGwire during the home run chase in the late 1990s. He said, well, you got to talk to Sammy about that. I said, I don't have any information to give to you. I was way retired when that happened. What did you want Hank Aaron to say? And finally, the most important interview clip I remember was when they were asking, well, what about Barry Bonds breaking the record? He said, I knew Barry Bonds' father, Bobby Bonds, and said, we were great friends. He said, and they were good people. And then the interviewer stops him, interrupts Hank Aaron, and goes, well, people say that he was using steroids. He goes, well, he said, you don't know that. He said, you don't know that? He said, you keep testing the man and you can't catch him, right? Well, maybe he wasn't taking steroids. Would you ever think of that? Well, there's so many people. There's this person. He goes, well, he said, no. He said, respectfully, as Hank Aaron said, respectfully, I think Barry Bonds belongs in the Hall of Fame. And then the interviewer was miffed. What? He goes, I think Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame. He broke the record fair and square. And I couldn't believe he said this. Fair and square. And until I find out otherwise, that's my final say. That's my final say. That kind of says it all. I should do another video about Barry Bonds, but I don't want to taint Hank Aaron's legacy here on this video. So I'm here to say that Hank Aaron, he weathered every storm there was, even after he takes his place in the world. And even a couple of decades later, the interviewers, these so-called journalists, were trying to trap him, I got you, you said this. He outsmarted them just like he outsmarted the people back in the 1950s and 60s and 70s and 80s. He outsmarted them back then, and he outsmarted them later in life. And now he gets to go home. He gets to go to the big place in the sky. And I'm sure Tommy Lasorda and Casey Stengel and some other managers, Earl Weaver, some other managers are up there trying to figure out how we're going to get Hank Aaron, where we're going to put him in the lineup. That must be a great place to be. I salute Hank Aaron. He did what he set out to do. Don't worry about the argument. Oh, he had 2,000 more players. Doesn't matter. It takes skill, it takes perseverance, it takes dedication of your craft to last that long to break that record. That's skill in itself. You had no problem with Cal Ripken breaking Lou Gehrig's 2,192 game playing streak. You had no problem with that record getting broken with 8 games a season longer and the different standards for today. You had no problem with that record getting broken. Well, you should have no problem with Hank Aaron having a few more at-bats. There's always going to be detractors out there trying to find some excuse to knock down Hank Aaron, knock down Cal Ripken, knock down this person, knock down Larry Holmes, knock down George Foreman in other sports, boxing. They broke the records, whatever. There are always people trying to knock these great athletes and these great role models and great American heroes down. It's just not going to work with the majority of us, and thank God for that. It's always great to be an American, and God bless you, Hank Aaron. Thank you for what you did. And this video is dedicated to Hank Aaron and all his fans throughout the world. Thank you.